clear Trump analogy that Alan, you confirmed it is Trump analogies that
more than Mickey 17, I would say.
It is a Trump analogy,
dude.
You mean I was right and I called that from the very first trailer?
Hates him and half the city loves him. 50-50. Boy, we've heard that before.
I told all of you at the beginning when this trailer came out. I said it's a Trump. They said no, you don't. Just wait. It's in the comic books, Mike.
When he fills
he
the
becomes
pothole
mayor in the comic books. I'm like, you know what he didn't do in the comic books? Have like the city descend into chaos as Daredevil walks triumphantly through the crowd. You know, and looks terrified as the Fisk supporters wave their flags in the air and then descend into violence. I don't know. It looks kind of like an allegory for something else, you know. Daredevil looks at his new girlfriend and goes, "Oh, like what are we doing? The whole city is. What has it become? Oh my goodness!"
Wait, that's what you guys got. That's what you got from that.
He's helping the city, actually. Did you see the pothole? I said you elected me to stop things and get potholes fixed. I got out and I fixed the pothole. I'm here for the people, Mike.
No, that's not just.
Chris already heard my rant, and I immediately got the DM of like, hey, you want to talk about this? Like,
yes, totally a Trump allegory. Yeah,
I didn't get that at all, man.
The jig is up for these people.
Put Dante out so we can fight with Mike, because I agree, it's a Trump analogy.
The jig is up right now, and they know that they can't just hammer this stuff anymore. Disney's not stupid. That's why they reshot the show, because they knew what they were about to put out was going to absolutely tank that IP. They need Daredevil to work. They need Deadpool to work. They need the Daredevil to work. They have to use the goodwill of the IPs that worked before to try to sell Disney Plus. That's why they went, did you know that this takes place after Agatha all along? Like, who fucking asked?
No, look, man, and I'm more than anybody am skeptical of Disney. I'm very skeptical. I don't believe in giving them the benefit of the doubt, right? To me right now, this is still in the good faith territory for me. I feel
they
like
don't get good faith.
Well, no. And I say that because the first two episodes for me, were good.
Make New York great again, Dante.
It's Disney. They don't get good faith. They don't deserve your good faith.
I'm not saying they deserve it, Mike, but what I'm saying is because of those two episodes, I'll at least give them leeway because I liked what I saw with those first two episodes, right? The thing is, okay, Daredevil walking through that crowd at the end, right? I didn't take that as a bunch of crazy Trump supporters. I looked at it like, yeah, people were celebrating, but he knows who Fisk is. And they were showing that parallel of them looking at each other like at the end of the day.
But
at the end of the day, MFer, I know who you are and you know who I am.
In the background, they're not celebrating
that's
at
all
first.
I took from it.
They're celebrating until a woman goes screaming through the street and men are chasing her. And then they start lighting fires and they start rioting in the city behind him. And that was the point, was that the crowd of people that support Fisk are not good people. They're
those
bad
Sixers.
People. They're not. It's not a positive thing.
I think that's because you were looking for that, man. Because I honestly,
I wasn't looking for it. I just saw it in the background.
First of all,
I legitimately listen. I love the Daredevil Netflix series.
Yeah,
I wanted to like this.
You can't say Fisk. The people of New York in this show know what Wilson Fisk was. We saw it for 3 years on the Netflix series. He's not a good guy. What they're saying is the point of this show is, can Fisk turn it around? Can a man who is a horrible criminal, and when he comes back, I got to give it up to Vincent D'Onofrio's performance. When he comes back and he says, you know what, I've changed. I want to give something. I saw what happened. I got shot in the face by my protege, which they bring up in the show. Maybe
they brought up Echo.
Maybe I can't, but they did it in a great way because Daredevil says, yeah, didn't you get shot in the face? They acknowledge it and they move on. That was a genius.
And they laugh about it.
And they laugh about it. And the thing
is, you have sex with a green woman.
But Fisk, everyone knows in New York that Fisk is a criminal. Everyone knows this.
Yes.
They know he's a violent criminal. So
they even reference it. Are we going to vote for this?
Totally.
So he's a criminal.
It's more about the fact, can a Leopard change their spots? Yeah. And this guy is now, and when he comes in, D'Onofrio's, the performance is great. He even tells his wife, who has taken over his own criminal empire
and run it better than he did.
Running it better than he did. Exactly right. And so he's thinking, and then you see in the second episode when the police chief comes in, He knows how to manipulate people. So even though he's trying to go on the straight and narrow, he's like, I don't want to be, you know what? My old ways, I can manipulate somebody into doing what I want. I mean, this is classical storytelling. It's not necessarily about, if Wilson Fisk hadn't been a villain, I would have said, okay, but come on, he's a bad guy.
And I would agree with you, except it's Disney, and this show is supposed to be a continuation of the Netflix series. This is not a standalone thing.
No, and it is, because you have to look at the Netflix.
Except here's the thing: it's all still dependent on all the things that have happened in Disney Plus. And I'm telling you, these guys know what they're doing. They cannot write this stuff like they used to. They can't make it a heavy-handed allegory. They have to hide it now because they know people won't openly accept it.
Well,
But
having
these people rioting in the streets, the little hat in the background, Fisk will fix it. Having BB walk
Dude,
around,
we have
interview
riots
people,
when a sports team wins a championship. Come on.
listen, all I'm saying to you is Daredevil did not see this as a positive. Him and his girlfriend are looking at each other like, oh my gosh, look at all the horrible things that are happening. This is not a good thing. And we know that Wilson Fisk is a criminal, you know, but
and so does Daredevil, and that's why he's not happy about it.
I mean, and we're watching two guys that they're going to be a certain way, and we're watching when's Daredevil, the end of episode 2. Daredevil's like, I'm trying to do the right thing, but it's Michael Corleone.
Well, we're not
just
even
when
getting
I
into the
thought I was
fact
out,
that
they
one of the
pull me back in, and the Kingpin's going to do the
one of the
same thing.
One of the cops had a Punisher tattoo.
That's what I'm most worried about.
Are we
But I need to
ignoring
ask
the-
Alan
Well, that
and
plays.
Chris.
That's a
Listen,
plot point. That plays.
Mike, are we
Yeah.
saying there's no dirty cops in New York?
No, the Punisher
Punisher's
tattoo.
a
No one saw
cop killer.
Serpico?
Punisher shoots cops. You don't get a tattoo of a guy that shoots your own people. They even
Well-
talk about the thin blue line in the first episode, and they say that. And Punisher shoots cops. He
That's
killed
from
a
a
bunch of people in
2019
prison.
Again, that plays into later episodes.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, all of this stuff is in the background. Vincent D'Onofrio is phenomenal. Charlie Cox is phenomenal. And they banked on that being the case. They need what came before to carry the show into what it is now. But all of the stuff in the background, this is Disney wearing a Daredevil skin suit. All of the stuff is in the background. And now Alan is confirming that it is a Trump allegory, which we already knew it was.
I'll
Like,
say
I called
the
this.
Trump allegory. The Trump allegory comes in
There you
when he gets elected, and in the way he gets elected. But the show, this show is so much better than everything Disney has done because it takes these elements and it builds it into the story. The cops with the Punisher tattoos, it plays into the story. It plays in a very interesting way.
It's
The entire
Dirty Harry's
series-
Magnum
The entire
Force.
series is about these two men who have shunned their old life. And can the leopard change its stripes or
Nope.
spots?
No.
And how does that play out? And then that leads into an explosive second season, which I'm looking forward to.
Well, and also,
this is so much well written in terms
Better
of
well?
better written. It's better written than anything Disney Plus has done because it cares about
that's
the
a
characters. It
low
cares about
bar.
its life.
I know. Can I voice one of the concerns without Mike screaming first?
I'm sorry, I get worked up. I said I didn't want to
No,
talk about this show because I knew I was
It's
going to
to
get
your
like this.
point. The whole thing about the Punisher killing corrupt cops with the tattoo, and it's from the comics, but it's all from the Disney 2019 comics that they specifically wrote by triggered leftists that don't like Punisher to begin with. It's what Chuck Dixon was saying. Frank Castle is a veteran right-wing character written by lefties that don't like the fucking character and don't like the original fans. And so the whole thing of him lecturing cops about using his symbol and all that, that's disingenuous to begin with. And so then you add them adapting it, and it's going to be them preaching as they do. Using people we like John Barenthal, Charlie Cox, and Vincent D'Onofrio. Okay.
And the thing is, like, okay, I'll stop yelling because the chat's getting upset with me. The thing
But
is,
we're all
like,
old. You scare us.
the
Silver hair, heart attacks and shit.
comparing this show to everything that Disney Plus has put out, when most of Disney Plus has pumped out trash, not even like okay stuff, garbage, absolute dog shit most of the time. And then we're looking at it, it has to be compared to the Netflix show because it's a continuation.
They asked
It's
us
not-
to.
It has to be. And if you're comparing it, it is a night and day difference. I'm rewatching the show because I thought maybe I was crazy and maybe I was missing it. No, the dialogue, the cinematography, the action, all the choreography, anything in the show, I would put up the worst of the Netflix shows to the best of what we got in these first 2 episodes, and it's not even close.
Okay, Mike, but you're comparing 3 seasons of a show to 2 episodes.
I'm just talking about even just the first season
and
of
you're
the
also,
show.
You're also presuming a lot of things that are going to happen that may or may not happen.
Well, they haven't exactly earned our, you know what I'm saying, the benefit of the doubt.
You can't criticize a show for something it hasn't presented.
I'm criticizing what I've seen in the first 2 episodes alone, and I was not impressed. And I get that it's the best thing gotten from Disney Plus, but like that's what they're hoping on. They had to take something like, so they're like a modicum better than they were before because the writers that they had before were absolute garbage. The fact is they realized it was garbage and threw it away, which means that they were aware of how the quality of the shows that they've been putting out this whole time and knew that these writers were not getting any better because they were able to hire people that did a better job.
Yeah,
and
but
those
everything
guys that are doing a better job.
Everything Disney has been putting out has been better or worse than written.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They have to know that because they have better shows to compare it to.
Well,
we're all looking at this like the
okay,
bar
but Mike,
is
here's
so
the thing. My
low.
thing is, at some point, you got to give the devil his due. No pun intended, right? Look, you just said it yourself. They knew the first drafts were dog shit, right? So they fired all the writers and hired new people. They at least acknowledged that they were doing something wrong. They were doing something wrong, and they said, "You know what? We need to correct this." And you got to give them credit for that. They corrected it. They said, "You know what? These guys suck. We're going to hire people who really care about the project," and they did that.
I can't give a Wolf credit for putting on sheepskin, though, man. Like that's
no,
the thing.
But look, man, look. Here's the thing: we keep complaining about Disney, and we have every right to, right? But when they do something right, we got to give them credit so they keep doing that right thing instead of just washing our hands up.
Absolutely.
And they did something right with the show so far.
Wow, this show feels like the Netflix show, and it feels like it's a good show. This does not feel like a good show. This feels like a show that is mimicking a good show.
Yeah, this is
because
not
they know what works about the Netflix show, and they're mimicking what they know works for the Netflix show.
It might get better. I need to wait and see what John Barenthal does. I need to see if it gets.
If the rest of this season's an absolute banger, I will say, hey, you know what? This is great. It got so much better. But nothing in this first 2 episodes. The only thing I liked in this was the very end when we finally got to see like Daredevil finally like kind of let it off the chain. Like that he's been hiding, like he's been kind of like keeping this all bound up inside. That's very much what it was like in the first the Netflix series. We all know that at the end of the day, Matt Murdock has a powder keg waiting to explode at any moment, and he's been trying to keep it together. But like this show, nothing about this show has impressed me at all.
But see,
and like I said,
even with that, Mike, I mean, we spent 2 episodes of Matt Murdock trying to be different than who he is, right? Same thing with Vincent D'Onofrio, right? And watching these 2 men know that at the end of the day, they know they're going to have to come back to their original form. But we're watching this progress. All of that stuff was good to me, man. The diner scene where they're talking to each other.
Anytime that Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox are together, awesome, because they're veterans of a better IP. They already had though. But here's the thing. You know what else we got to see? Vincent D'Onofrio sitting with his legs clasped together on a couch in couples counseling while his wife tells him I made the business better than anything that he ever ran. This is the Kingpin. Like, and she's talking about, oh, he's ruined everything for me. He's made everything worse for me. You know, the first time we see any kind of like, the second time, because they had the talk where she's like, you made everybody leave my meeting. What are you doing? And then they're like on the rooftop together. He's like, Vanessa, I know about your affair. I'm like, this is a woman that if in the first 3 episodes or first 3 seasons does nothing but make him a better person, talks about how much she loves him, how much she'll wait for him, how she'll, you know, like she's getting better because of him. Like their chemistry is non-existent in this show now. And then we end up in a couples counseling session.
But don't you think that's interesting?
No, they should have been stronger as a couple. I would have found that interesting.
Or
he got shot in the face though, because
Vanessa has never been anything but a catalyst for Kingpin Wilson Fisk to become better and stronger.
It's 6 years later.
Yeah, and we also had to skip over like all of the emotional weight of Matt dealing with and grieving over his friend dying too, because they go, "Hey, bang, Foggy's dead." Year later, here we are.
Well, yeah, because they got to get to the story. I mean,
there's a lot of story there. I mean, dealing with Matt having to give up being Daredevil. I mean, that's always a good storyline.
But they're doing that. I mean, here's the thing. Everything you're saying, I don't disagree with you, but it's all in the show.
I don't not agree with that at all. We haven't seen Matt grieving Foggy at all. He moved on. He's got a new best friend.
Well, okay. What are you going to do? Spend
lawyer.
an episode where he's at his gravesite, like reciting poetry? I mean,
you could if you know how to write it.
We understand when somebody is killed and they go to 1 year later. You don't think they showed when they showed him he has a new law firm, working with a new partner? Clearly,
I don't think they cared.
Uncomfortable for him.
I don't think they cared.
Again, you've only seen
because they literally skipped to him having a new best friend, who he then like tells like, "Yo, stop interfering in my personal life."
The show is not about his Matt Murdock's year in grieving. You have to be able. How many movies start where somebody gets killed in the beginning and it says 1 year later, or in the Avengers case, 5 years later? You know, the Avengers, when you're watching Endgame, you're not like, I wonder what happened in the 5 years when they had to grieve when everyone was gone. I need to see all the Avengers grieve for all the world that was disappeared.
It's implied Matt
and you're
is still
also
coping.
implying that this is a bigger like because the Avengers is on a grand scale. This is one guy dealing with his life and his dual identity
and you don't think
as a
that
superhero.
They showed that? Like do you think he loves his new law firm? Do you think he loves when Karen Page shows up in that courtroom? You don't think that was heartbreaking?
I do think that was heartbreaking, but we also don't get to see anything that came before it. They're asking you to assume.
Cry? I mean,
they're asking you to assume that what has happened in that last year is not important to the story.
Oh, that's not at all what I thought.
That's not true at all.
And they're asking you to accept that these are the same characters from the Netflix show, which they are not.
No, 6 years went by.
But they're not the same characters, even in the situations that they're in. Like,
and by the way,
Kingpin.
In that court scene, we got to see Matt Murdock talk about his friend, and we saw how hard it was for him to talk about his friend. I mean, we see Matt grieving, even just in that one scene. Like, yeah. I'm with Rob. I don't think we needed a whole year of Matt grieving about Foggy.
Mike, to be fair, what they tried to do is, I think, in the beginning when Foggy's talking to that chick, Moratorium, Duffy, whatever, they're very clearly going into like a relationship type thing, and then he's taken out of the picture, and it's implied that Matt and her bonded, and then formed because Karen checked out because of whatever, and that even though it's a year later, he's still not Daredevil. He's still coping. He doesn't have any relationships. And even though I don't agree with her fucking character, it is meant to show that he's still dealing with it. And that's the Born Again.
And again, there are 7 more episodes.
I know.
But maybe these things come into play later.
To Mike's point, he doesn't have the goodwill towards it. Not a lot of people have the goodwill.
He's helping a man though who had to take up the Daredevil mantle because he left it behind.
I know a lot of people like assume that I'm just hating on this to hate on this. I would love to be proven wrong, but this is not Disney's crack at Daredevil with no examples of what it looks like to do it right. We have a show that did it right, and this is not a reboot. If they had done a reboot with new characters or a new cast, or even said these are totally different characters but the same actors, I would have given them all of that. Could have given the benefit of the doubt and said, hey, you know what? They're doing a decent job. But this is a continuation of a show that is better in every measure, in every way. This is season 4 of Daredevil, essentially. And they're asking you to treat it like season 4 of Daredevil. And they have not earned that good faith from me.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that the 4th season of every TV show ever made is better than the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st seasons?
I am saying that
is Buffy season 4 better than season 3
Game of Thrones
season
season 4
2?
was great. Let's just give this time to percolate, though, before we say it's fucking horrible.
I'm saying it's not of the same caliber. Even the cinematography, the choreography, all of it is worse. The dialogue is worse.
I don't know. That fight with Bullseye was pretty nice, man. I mean, it was choppy, but it was like, I mean, I still got it.
Even watching the hallway scene where they're fighting and stuff, you can see that they don't have nearly as much choreography, which is why they look so exhausted by the time they get up to the top of the stairs, because they don't have the choreography to sell.
Maybe they're tired.
Yeah, I know. It's like, come on, man.
But that's the thing. Once again, we have 3 hallway scenes that we can compare it to that are better in every way. We have
Yeah, but he
three
wasn't fighting
separate
Bullseye.
hallway scenes with better choreography. He fights Bullseye twice in season 3, and the choreography is better in both of those scenes.
Look,
He fights him in an office building, getting staplers thrown at him.
Bad. It wasn't
and it's more compelling than when he's throwing. It's not bad. It's okay. But why are we settling for okay with a show that we already had that was great?
Because previously we had fucking horrible. So okay to maybe good at one point is at least
See,
a
that's-
stepping
see,
So
stone.
what it feels like is
I'm not
we
saying
went from
I'm not saying this is okay for a Disney Plus show. I'm saying I think it's just a good show so far. Like I'm not even comparing it to the other Disney Plus stuff. I'm saying that so far from what I've seen, it feels like Daredevil to me.